So I played Toy Time King in seasonal yesterday, and we posted in Discord. It was pretty well viewed. A lot of people were pretty interested. I brought some wacky sets. I figured, you know what, this might be a good time to see if I enjoy going back to like a solo kind of game analysis type thing that I haven't really done since I was like, I don't care about YouTube so much anymore. And if I like it, I'll upload it. Maybe I'll never upload this, but we'll see. Don't expect more of these necessarily, but if I do put it up, obviously. But I'm gonna try it out. So this is seasonal, losers round 5, whatever. Game 1, I bring a team that was really experimental on my part. I was trying to mess around with multiple things. It's more of an offensive Quillfish with explosion. It's offensive Rockium Z Stone Edge Regirock to kill the eels and the Vix coming in and the whatnot. It's also got an AV Hitmonchan. I was like, maybe Hitmonchan's worth still using in this meta. I'm going to plug in my computer. No, and this team doesn't really work. Particularly late game to fighting types. Quillfish has no longevity, so you have to keep the Victory Bell around, which isn't smart. And just defensively, this team doesn't work. Offensively, it's okay, but relies a lot on Regirock doing its thing. So I like the Regirock a lot, but the rest of this is really disposable. It's just not a good team. Toy Time Kings, really standard and basic looking. Kind of has the same threats that you would see for a team like this, where it's really got to use the Scarf Primate to revenge everything. So certain things like Hail comes out looking pretty scary, Ludicolo, those kind of things. Also, just from like a defensive standpoint, if you're prepared to break a basic Reggie-Eel Poison really core, you're probably fine. Or at least have decent counterplay. But like, it's pretty solid. There's nothing really wrong with what he has. And that's pretty much the solid theme for the game, I think. So I'm going to try to use the Hitmonchan immediately, because I realized, like, I'd been trying to use AV Spin. I don't think that's good, first of all. I think any Hitmonchan set, it can't run Spin in this meta. You just don't have the space. I'm completely walled by the Victory Bell. And that's just so bad. I'm like, let me just use it early on, chip the eel, try to get some use out of this Mon. Turns out he also has Silvally Ghost, not Silvally Fairy, which is even more annoying for this. It's also kind of weird just because Pursuit's a bit of a... Pursuit plus fighting could be a lot more annoying for his team, but he's not like super crazy fighting weak, so I think it's okay. Just, a lot more unusual to see it. I also don't have a great pivot in. I really should have gone hard Persian and then tried doubling out on hoping he'd go Regirock on a parting shot. Instead, I go hard my own Regirock, which is going to take a lot because, like, offensive. Double into Persian, he goes to Victory Bell, and then I parting shot. And I'm getting this plays, like, wrong. I try to go to my own Regirock. This is not very good. I should have gone hard Hitmonchan. Hitmonchan's, like, walled, but I need to use my own Regirock. My own Regirock being offensive, maybe I can lure, like, the Skunk or the Victory Bell, do some good damage. That would be a huge part of this game. But instead, I'm basically going to try to get up rocks early, because I thought that was more important, and then Drain's going to do nothing. And, this is pretty useless from my end. This is accomplishing nothing. He doesn't especially need his Regirock at all. I'm finally going to go Quillfish as he Stone Edges, which I didn't think he'd bother to do, but he does, and I take 50, so I'm like, all I can do is get up a spike and die, and I'm already pretty screwed. I'm going to go hard Victory Bell right now. This is one play I really don't love from him, just because switching out of the Victory Bell is so easy, but so I figured, why not? There's really no reason not to keep the Regirock now that, like, the only realistic thing I can do late game is maybe some Persian shenanigans, but even then, I think it's so safe and easy to sack Regirock that he just didn't have to switch. So he's going to stay in Stone Edge and basically just let his Regirock die, and, like, it's fine. It's not, like, the safest thing you can do, but it's very easy, and it still leaves him in such a good position that it's like, why not? So he's going to go Skunk and Revenge, and then I drop the Continental Crush. This is also a mistake. Like, I was really hoping I could catch his Victory Bell or even the Silvally maybe, and like basically hoping he screwed up. But it would have been better to save my Persians. It's a dual Z move, actually. Another thing I was messing around with, is that a good concept? So if I could have saved the Z parting shot, maybe that could have been useful. But even then, like, I shouldn't. It's very unlikely that I would have been able to muster anything. And the rest of this game is basically just him on an extremely easy cleanup, because at this point I'm going to lose to Scarf Primate because my Victory Bell died. And as soon as Victory Bell died, because I risked it by sludge bombing the Regirock, Scarf Primate was going to win, because the first two things that died were my fighting checks. So yeah, pretty basic. Just not a good game for me at all. I think it has a lot of different techs that I think were worth explaining, but in terms of the actual game that happened, the game where we did things, pretty much a nothing game for me. Not good at all. I was not happy with this. And although I hadn't been planning to, I fell back on a team that I feel relatively more confident in, which is something I've brought a few times already, which is my Specs Omastar Trick Room Masharna team, which again has like the weird funky techs they're worth talking about, but also I think they just like work better. Like Specs Omastar is just pretty cool. This is definitely a pretty ideal team to fight with it. If I can pivot it into Aurora's locked into Blizzard, Unboosted Slash, Quillfish if it's not debond, Kangaskhan dies extremely early, and then obviously the Mudsdale, a lot of things it can do, and Aurora's not looking bad for the late game cleanup since his Psychic Resist is going to be an offensive Sand Slash. From his team, bit of a different Hail, not what you tend to see from Hail, looking unusually Girder weak, I think, with like trying to annoy it with Muds and Quillfish being the options, and those tend to be pretty early game used mons, so I don't love that aspect of it. But Hail is Hail, so I just generally like play Hail as a playstyle because you almost always will have good outs. And I'm not like super great versus Hail for my part. Obviously, like my ice resists are not loving taking max attack Sand Slash Earthquakes, so that's definitely a dimension here. I guess getting into it, so we're going to lead Eels, and one of the big things about this team, I have the Super Fang Eel tech because I want to instantly put their Eel in range of Omastar's Hydro Pump, and Knockoff can do that, but then I also like the chip for Skunk. It benefits Skunk slightly better. It benefits Masharna slightly better, and like immediately just getting the Eel chip down. Unfortunately, I miss, which means he gets to go for the free knockoff and then the Volt, as I kind of just still need the chip. Really hard, because if I got that Super Fang, I'd be pretty much exactly where I want to. I'm going to go hard Omastar on the Kangaskhan then, because I basically thought his safest play was the Double Edge. If Metang comes in, he can just Earthquake. He loves having Metang weakened for his Hail. For the Scarf Auroras, presumably, non-Scarf Auroras even better. In particular, like, he wants the Metang weakened, so might as well Double Edge, because like if I go to it, he's happy about that. So I figured, okay, let's pivot in. I'll get the weak armor. Instead, he Earthquakes, which is not great for me. I do get it wrong, but it's not the worst thing in the world. Omastar can still do its wall breaking. Doesn't necessarily need all of the health in the world. Excuse me there. So, it could be a lot worse. Like, if I pivoted in on a Mudsdale, it's still getting a kill, but I'm potentially in range of some Quillfish sets, or like the Scarf Blizzard now, so not amazing. Could be a lot worse, and I can basically just throw out a Hydro Pump here. It's a 56.3% chance to Oko Kangaskhan, and even if it lives, I want this Kangaskhan dead. The one thing I didn't talk about team preview, because I knew I was going to hit it up here, is that Kangaskhan really sucks for my team. I know it's Kangaskhan week. I basically haven't changed the team because I felt there's not a lot I can do. There's too much that would need to be changed to go towards like not being Kangaskhan week. And that is something also in general in critiques that we do on like Untier Talk, I think is always worth saying. Sometimes you're weak to something because like there's not a lot you can do about that. sometimes you kind of need to stay weak to things. And on this team, I think I have enough versus Kanga where it's like an annoying threat, but it's not the worst thing in the world. But in particular, I want to get it out of the way because Fake Out plus Sucker Punch, that sucks for a Trick Room Masharna win con, obviously. Like, no fun at all. So I'm going to go directly for the Hydro Pump looking for all that chip, and I miss, and I just die. And that's huge. I don't have the Specs Omastar. I pretty much assume this game is over. Realistically, it should be over. I'm basically going to go hard Metang, going to be like, okay, I need the rocks now, then I'm going to chip Kangaskhan, then I'm just going to try to go from there. I had pretty much no faith in it. Like, the Super Fang into Hydro Pump went from, this is exactly how I want early game to play out, like, maybe with Omastar taking a double edge, but still, to, this is not good at all. So he's going to chip the Metang, because obviously it's good for Roars, but instead decides to hard Mudsdale, get his own rocks, not get his Kanga chipped. Yep, that's fair. All I can really do is go my eel. My eel's not very useful in this game at all, so he's going to sack the Mudsdale just to get the Toxic off. That's pretty fine from him. Like, Mudsdale only really beats Skunk at this point. This team is not... Hey, it beat Metang too, but Metang's like not really a threat. Like, this team is not super Mudsdale weak at all, and I can respect just wanting to get rid of it. And he gets to go back to Kangaskhan and just kill something anyway. I'm going to decide to sack Eel. It just doesn't do very much, and something has to die. And then the only thing I can do this Kangaskhan now is sack Metang just to get more chip on it. I just don't have options here. After this, like, you can even see I don't have good Kanga Revenge Killers. The Frostlass is Scarf, not like Wisp or anything, so that doesn't work at all. So I'm going to go Skunk and hope I flinch him with Dark Pulse. That was literally the plan, hope I flinch. I don't. Skunk is weak, but I end up living on 1%. I actually never calced this, so I'll pull this up real quick for you because there's really no reason not to check what were the odds that I just immediately lost there. Skuntank... This is like the special set, so it's just 0-0 versus a Kangaskhan, PU all out attacker. Boy, pulling this stuff up on mobile kind of sucks, huh? And it's after Stealth Rock, Earthquake, with a 25% chance to OHKO. Alright, I'll take it. That's not so bad. I didn't even check it in game, because I was like, fuck it, I don't really have a chance. I get the Aguav Berry. It's not super useful to have the health here, though, because Auroras is just going to come and hit a button. I basically, like, at this point, I go, okay, he let me get rid of the Kangaskhan. Maybe I have the slight win con. Obviously, Eel is healthier than I'd like it to be. But if it takes, like, Rocks and Hail, then there's a chance it can just die to the Masharna Psychic. And then obviously the Sandslash never got chipped, but like there's a small chance that maybe the Trick Room Masharna is going to pull out here. So this is where I basically just go Frostlass, start spamming Shadow Ball, hope I weaken everything. So first he sacks Eel, which makes sense from his part, but like, that's good. I need that out of the way. He's going to go Quillfish now. This is a play I don't... Like, obviously Quillfish isn't the greatest thing versus Masharna. You know, like, you don't need to save Quillfish, but I'm not entirely sure what the plan was. I'm just going to 2KO him. All he does is get some chip. Like, I guess it puts me in Sandslash range, but at that point, Hail's going to wear off, and he's going to have to go back to Auroras. I'm going to Shadow Ball that, and a Blizzard doesn't even kill me. This is an interesting turn, too. He's disabled, and I'm like 99% sure he's... No, I'm 100% sure he's Scarf Auroras, because it outsped Skunk. He's disabled now, so I could go hard to Masharna, but I realize I still probably win the game if I don't, and I don't want to risk him like going hard Sandslash thinking I'm going to go Masharna. So I'm basically just going to hit Shadow Ball again to kill him. He's going to go Sandslash. I hope he Sword Stances, because I outspeed in the Hail, and I get to 2KO, and at this point, Sandslash dies to Z Psychic, and somehow I managed to pull it off. Like, he can Sub-Zero Slammer, but I can take that because Masharna is nice, and I Trick Room first, just... I don't even know. There was no need to do that, because Sandslash died. The best thing he could have done is save the Kangaskhan. I'm not sure, like, if he just expected fat defensive Masharna, then the play would have been to wait and to, like, preserve his Sandslash and try to Sword Stance versus it. But then when he was in Sandslash versus Masharna, he didn't even try to Sword Stance. So I can't really tell what's going through his mind. Like, if he thought I was Trick Room, he would have saved Kangaskhan. He wouldn't have let it get chipped the way he did. And if he thought I was defensive, he would have sword stanced. I haven't asked him. It's not that big of a deal. It's just, I don't know, a weirdly played game. I do not think I should have won. And then at this point, I'm like super imposter syndrome. This is something I do a lot in my games. Like, I shouldn't have won this game, and I played last game really bad, so I just kind of default to using Combuskin screens. I'm like, let's just go for some funny cheese. But this matchup is nice. His Kanga counterplay is very limited because Aggron does that to you. Like, Kanga is a really good Mon. It's an A+ Mon, but one of the things about it is that if they have a Muds or a Pharaoh or a Regirock, they automatically have like reasonable enough counterplay to work and pivot around Kangaskhan. But he's got an Aggron, and even if it's Shuka, that's much harder to handle Kangaskhan. He can't really switch into it well. Another big thing is Simipour is one of the few wall breakers that if you have Simipour, you can be like, yeah, I'm going to break things. Pretty much nothing. Like, all of our common resists are broken down by Simipour. Obviously, there's like, if you're running Grass Knot, then you're not hitting Ferroseed as well, and if you're running Focus Blast, you're not hitting Jellicent as well. But even then, those are two mons that do so little that you kind of can like go to +4 and Ice Beam Ferroseed, or weaken Jellicent, or maybe get a Toxic off, and then Simipour can Nasty Plot and try to just chip away at it with Ice Beams. Not as well, but like Simipour is one of those mons that almost always guarantees you can have some good wall breaking. And I have Ludicolo, and that's just unfortunate. Like, when they have Ludicolo, your Simipour is just kind of blocked unless it's an acro, like, mixed or physical set that nobody really runs. And nobody has run since Oras. So it's hard for him. Combuskin's also a threat. He has what looks to be almost certainly Scarf Dodrio, so that's something. But if Combuskin gets fast enough, it's not enough. So I definitely liked how this one popped out for me. Starting off, I do like how I don't super need Mudsdale. Obviously, is it great versus Dodrio? Yes, but what do I want more? The rocks to chip it, the rocks to even mess with a potential Aggron Sturdy, and then the rocks to just like chip with the rest of what he has. So I'm perfectly fine with basically sacking Mudsdale to get the Toxic and then the rocks. And then at this point, I think I'm pretty sure he'll just Giga Drain again. Like, I really think he's going to do it. So I go hard Kangaskhan. I get it wrong, he volts. There was no real reason to risk this. Kangaskhan's really good. Mudsdale, not super useful. Like, it's nice to have Death Fodder, but I did not need to risk this. I just did risk this. And he gets the Volt right, and that sucks for me. But, like, all he can really do is Simipour. That's his intended breaker, and it just doesn't work. Victory Bell obviously can't come into Kangaskhan. Dodrio doesn't want to. Like, there's not a lot he can do, and I have, like, the one super hard counter to Simipour. It's a problem. Unless it's like, I guess Nasty Plot Grassium probably does a good amount, but I'm going to assume that won't Oko Ludicolo. So yeah, just really hard for Toy Time King. I'm going to Giga on the Eel because I thought it was going to 2-hit KO, and then it wasn't even close. So it doesn't even matter. I can just go Muds, let him Giga, and then go hard Kangaskhan. And this is really good for me because now Double Edge, as he obviously is going to sack Eel, is just going to put me in range of that Figgy Berry. I get all that health back. Kang is looking pretty in this game. Pretty nice. I have it again. And this is like the worst part in the game where he's basically like, I have nothing to do versus Kangaskhan. Simipour, I just wall. Dodrio, I'm just going to switch out and he's going to keep chipping himself. Aggron, might have lived an Earthquake, I don't know, but I'd still just sack something and get the chip on it. I would have calced it at that point, but I didn't even do that. So he's going to go Silvally Ghost, which does not help him versus Kangaskhan at all. And he's going to try to Sword Stance, and I'm basically just going to Double Edge and then hit Sucker Punch, and this thing does nothing. He's like, yeah, I just lose to Kangaskhan. So this is the game I was like least interested in showing off. There's very little to it. At this point, I just sacked Kangaskhan because I don't even need it. Like, I could have gone Ludicolo. My Kangaskhan wasn't fake out though, so without that I'm definitely like less useful for Scarf Dodrio late game, so I figured let's just sack Kanga. I also really thought he was going to try a double or something, but he didn't. He just hard Hydro Pumps, which is like fair enough. And Kangaskhan lives because it's really stupid, and Simipour not that good of a Pokemon, I don't think. I know some people think it's hard underrated. I don't agree. So we're both gonna do our things. I preserve Ludicolo. There's no real reason to. I don't need it. Like it clearly doesn't. Like I guess it checks Aggron, but I don't need to preserve Ludicolo. I go hard or Corio. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna Rev Dance because obviously he's going Aggron. Get that 2 KO. There's really not that much here. But he goes Dodrio. I sack Mudsdale, and then I decide, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go hard Rotom, go Oricorio, just to check. Maybe he's, I don't know. Sword Stance would be a real problem because my Rotom is not Scarf. I have no Scarfer on this team. Sword Stance could be a threat, so I go Rotom, and then I hope maybe he's Fightinium, maybe he's something. So then I double hard into Sensu, just playing it extra safe. That's what this was all about. Sensu lives on 1%, and then I'm like, well, okay, he's definitely Scarf, so I might as well go Rotom. Set up the light screen for Combuskin, because this is actually a screens Combuskin team, so I'm going to set it up. He's going to kill himself with Recoil, and now unless the Victory Bell crits the Combuskin and then dodges the Oricorio Hurricane, then wins the Speed Tie versus Ludicolo and crits me through the light screen, or like somehow lives Ice Beam, I guess, this game's pretty much over, and yeah, he's going to try to Strength Sap. I am physical, but the Z Flare Blitz is still going to kill him. If it didn't, he'd have to Strength Sap again, and at that point I would click Sword Stance, and then I'd be faster, and then, yeah, there's nothing you can do. So this was more to just fill out the set. Definitely the least interesting game. I kind of had a good matchup here, and I didn't really talk about his team. I don't think it really entirely works. It's pretty scary offensively, and it definitely helps that his Simipour was completely shut down. But the defensive threads of like the Ghost Volley, Aggron, Eel just don't really come together, and it's a very reliant team on just breaking you before you break them, but doesn't seem that effective at it. I also didn't talk about my team. It's kind of stupid. I know there are a lot of things that are scary. It's pretty reliant on like just the number of dumb mons you have doing dumb things. Like Rain Ludicolo is really stupid. Sword Stance Combuskin's really stupid. Figgy Power Up Punch Kangaskhan's really stupid. And I figure like among those, it generally something can do something. I know the weaknesses it has, but it can act stupid. So there you go. Not happy at all with how I played game 1 or the team I brought. And game 2 was a little weird, and then game 3 was a blowout. So overall, very weird set, but I thought there was enough interest in this. I think people enjoy this. I think I'll probably upload it. So yeah, I hope it was fun.